Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to this live interactive version of the Studio Live Today podcast. I'll be joined by my special guest in just a few moments. Today, we will be talking about all things YouTube, YouTube analytics, YouTube numbers, YouTube copyright, YouTube content ID, you name it, about YouTube. We're going to be chatting about it, and we're doing it live here on YouTube, funnily enough, and Facebook and a few other places. So if you are here live and you want to get interactive, you can leave a question for me or my special guest as well. All you need to do is put a big Q in front of your comment and I'll tag it as a question and we'll try to answer it as we go on through the show. So just to give you a bit of an idea here, if you are a musician or a content creator, you're sharing videos with the world, it can be a minefield. It can be very confusing as to know what numbers you should be looking at, what numbers you can completely ignore, and that's what we're going to be going through here today. We're going to break it down and make it simple and answer any of your questions, because you know what? When I was starting out, I knew nothing. Everyone starts at zero, right? Zero is where we all start. So there are no silly questions, just silly people who don't ask questions. So if you want to ask a question, we won't consider you silly. We will try and do our best to answer you. As I mentioned, Jade will be with us in just a moment. Oh, I gave away who the special guest was. So I'm going to do all the housekeeping while we get started here. Say good day to a few of the live folks here. If you're listening to this one on the audio version, you can go ahead and leave a comment or leave a review, leave a rating. You can go to studiolivetoday.com/podcast if you want to keep up to date with the podcast. If you're here on the video version and you're having fun, you can hit the thumbs up button and that will just show us and the YouTube robots that you like what we do around here and that you're happy with the show. We've got a big weekend of live shows coming up here on Studio Live today and right around the community as well. We'll tell you a little bit more about those a bit later as well. Last week on the show, we talked about music scams. That was an interesting one for sure. And we even talked about pig butchering. So if you want to catch the previous show, you can go ahead and go back and do that. Before we're joined by Jade, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my YouTube story, my journey, because Jade knows all this stuff already. My YouTube story started by watching YouTube, like many of you. I started back in the day. Remember back when you used to be able to use like the star rating? It wasn't thumbs up, thumbs down. You had a 5-star rating. Where are my OGs at who remember the star rating? I also started uploading just, random generic videos that were kind of just for me. So just my own personal stuff. So my first YouTube channel started like more than 10 years ago when YouTube were acquired by Google. And then they went down this track and became like the most popular place in the world. In fact, they're the second most popular search engine on the planet after only Google themselves. So Google own the top 2 search engines because people search Google, but more often than not these days, if you're looking to learn how to do something, anyone else like this, you search YouTube. Because I would rather watch a 2-minute video than read like a couple of pages full of like pop-up ads and randomness. I want to just see someone talking about it and explaining it as opposed to having to go to the effort myself. I then started making YouTube videos about GarageBand because I couldn't find any. To be honest, I couldn't find any. Back in 2016, and I'm pointing at my Studio Live Today t-shirt that says established 2016. Back in 2016, I was looking around and I found like the GarageBand guide and I found like Lewin Behringer and his GarageBand and beyond. And while they were just scratching the surface of GarageBand on iPhone and iPad, they were very much focused around GarageBand for Mac, which is cool, but I couldn't find any iOS content, like no one that was really focused in on it. So I thought, hey, why not make it myself? And I didn't know anything about YouTube. I just started uploading videos. I created a new account. I called it Studio Live Today for reasons that I no longer remember and that aren't really relevant, but it sounded cool. I registered studiolivetoday.com and I started learning. I started my learning journey. I started watching other YouTube folks. I started going in and diving into content about YouTube and about how to do things on YouTube and just getting my general YouTube education. And that was 7 years ago. And over this time, YouTube has changed. It has become a very different beast, hasn't it? It has become very different. And we'll be talking about that when my special guest joins me in just a jiffy. We'll talk about what does YouTube look like in 2024? Because guess what? It's a heck of a lot different than it was in 2016. I can assure you of that. Things change. The only thing that stays the same is that things will change. Let's say g'day to the fine folks who are here with us in the chat. We have our wonderful moderator, Thomas Christ. G'day to SM Borthwick, Christopher Rossi, Mark Bro, Tremor Bear, Forest of the Wolf. G'day to you, OG Sunshine. Let's OG. Perhaps. G'day, John Swanson. Hey, Hugh Caldwell. Sylvie. Hello to you. Christopher Rossi. You remember? Remember to thumb? Good idea. It's always good. And we'll explain that. We'll explain why YouTubers are always telling you to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell and do all that jazz. Because there's reasons to our mayhem. Hello to Joe and Barry Glenn. You'll notice all these folks with their little green labels. If you're feeling a little bit left out, if you want to be like Skeeter Melody and other folks and have a little green next to you, $2. $2 a month, $2 a month, and you can become one of our members. Yeah, that's the channel membership. That's another new thing. Look, I'm adding to my notes as we go through here because we got many more things to talk about, and maybe memberships is one thing that I'll add into list of things I'm going to talk about with the wonderful Jade Starr when she joins us in just a wee jiffy. We'll keep scrolling and see if there's anyone. The OG reporting in. Yeah, I mentioned to Cold Acre on a comment today that he was there for the very first happy hour, which was 4 years ago today. Can we get a applause for the 4 years of the happy hour and the opening hour? Speaking of openings, that's a good opening for me to bring in my special guest, and that is the one, the only, the quintessential, the original Jade Starr. What the heck is going on, mate?
Openings.
I thought you would enjoy that. Speaking of openings, Jade Starr.
Hello, Pete. Good to see you. Is everybody doing well in the chat? I feel like I've just woken up fresh. I've done nothing today except this show. Good to see you.
See, you got to go with the illusion. The illusion that you haven't been working all morning.
It's all
Jade
magic.
Just come from a great interview with Leanie. Does a Friday morning, Saturday evening thing wherever you are in the world. Make sure you catch up with Jade. She was talking with some great creators, and your chat with Leanie was super cool today. She was an open book, may I say. She opened up about childbirth. She opened up about releasing music and everything in between. It was wonderful.
Yeah, she's a really beautiful soul, and everybody I have on and interview them is just wonderful. I'm so privileged, Pete, to get to speak to so many people. I think I'm up to 135 interviews. It's very inspiring to be able to speak to such kind, wonderful souls each week.
Absolutely. And as I often say to Jade, we don't have to do this, we get to do this. So when we're having those days where, and we all have them, where you're not feeling quite the motivation or, the mind's willing, but the body's weak, you say, hey, I don't have to do this, I get to do this. And we get to talk about YouTube with these fine folks here today. So that's a very cool thing indeed. Jade, how long have you been on YouTube for, mate?
Was it 18 years? Yeah.
Since it started?
Since pretty much the year it started. But when I did start my YouTube account, I didn't have any content to put up, and for the longest time I had nothing on my channel, and all this stuff was very sporadic and very weird and disjointed because I didn't know what to put up. It was a very different time. It was very Wild West YouTube back then. It was kind of like what Rumble is now without kind of the conspiracies and the hatred. So it's true. And you could kind of do anything, but I think that open palette for me when I started YouTube was very confronting. It was like, well, you've given me this world to do stuff and it's too much. There's too many options, so I didn't know what to do. It was very disjointed. It wasn't until 2020 where I was able to focus from watching you for a long time and seeing how focused you were on GarageBand, and having a thing to push helps you be focused and be able to open the door to other things that tie into that focus of what you're doing.
Absolutely. And just before you joined us, I kind of talked a little bit. I said, Jade already knows my backstory, so I don't need to wait for her to talk about this. But I talked about my backstory with YouTube and creating this channel and doing it because kind of couldn't find the content I wanted to learn. So I thought, well, I better teach it myself, and started learning as well at the same time. Because there's two things you do. You start doing YouTube and you just kind of do it a bit like music. You do it organically, and then you realize that there's this whole world of YouTube education that you have to learn about the algorithm algorithm and learn about analytics and learn about the YouTube partner program and content ID and copyright claims and views and watch times and subscribers. And there's a whole lot you need to know. So that's why I wanted to have a chat today, because we were talking last week on your show and a lot of folks had a lot of questions about YouTube. And at the time you said, hey, I should come on your channel and we should talk all things YouTube and pull the cover off, just look at the underbelly, the seedy underbelly of YouTube and expose it to the world. So that's what we will be doing here today. So we'll kick things off. Again, welcome to the folks. I did say good day to everyone that's here live, but if you are live and you do have questions, please ask them. The beauty of me having Jade here is that I can actually look at the chat more than I usually do. So you won't be ignored. If you've got a question, put a big Q in front of it, and we'll definitely circle back and do some Q&A if you want to know some stuff. I want to start with this though, Jade. Subscribers. How important is your subscriber count? And second part question, why does everyone obsess about it?
Well, look, we all love being told that we're good. You can't deny that. It's a natural, it's an innate thing of human beings that we love to be told when we're doing good. And for the most part, people do strive to do their best and, create things in their jobs, whatever it is. We try to do our best unless the thing that we're doing, we don't really want to be doing, like a job that you hate or something like that. And getting feedback, which is what they call in the corporate world, you're doing a shit job and we just want to shit on you. But getting feedback is important, and good feedback makes us feel good. So the endorphins flow and it makes us feel like we're doing the right thing. So in that respect, subscribers can be a motivational thing for you, I do believe. So it can help you to continue on. It makes you feel like I'm doing the right thing. I should continue down this path. In the scheme of things of YouTube, subscribers don't really mean a lot. It's especially when you move into something like they mean a lot up until 1,000, because if you want to get monetized, you've got to get those numbers and draw in those numbers. But once you're monetized, if you focus on those numbers, you'll go down a very bad path, I believe. Honestly, I think if you focus on numbers overall for your content, you can fall into a negative place because you've got to enjoy the content that you make. And if you're making content for numbers, it's just like being in a dead-end job that you hate and you want to get out of. So there's no point making videos about stuff you don't like. So in that regard, like, you need to get those numbers. But what is more important is the views and how long people will watch you for. And there's no point subscribing to a channel that you're not going to watch. You are doing a disservice to the creator, and eventually the algorithm will pick up that you've subscribed to this channel and they will stop feeding you those videos. And eventually, this is where people get confused, I think, and they say, YouTube removing me from unsubscribing me from channels. It can happen. It can happen if you, for long enough, don't watch something that you're subscribed to. Why? Because YouTube have a thing where they clean out subscribers after a period of time. They look for accounts that have been on YouTube for a long time and have no content. And that could be you. There's a lot of people who watch videos on YouTube and don't make any content, and they might just watch a lot of political stuff or a lot of conspiracy stuff. And then all of a sudden they're like, I've been shadow banned and I've been removed from all the channels I like. And it's like, it's not that. It's that you have no content. You've been swept up in the bots that they delete. So subscribers are a vanity metric that make you feel good inside and floaty and lovey. But at the end of the day, as a monetized channel, they really don't help you make money.
And that's kind of, obviously that was a little bit of a lob. I was just letting you have that one as an easy starting point, because
smashed it
into the corner. Because like, we've obviously talked about this a bunch of times, and we've had people that come to us and they're like, I want to grow my channel. And I'm like, you want to grow your channel? You need to build engagement. You need to build additional views. You need to find new people that are interested in your stuff. You need to harness your niche and find other people that want to watch you. What you don't need is for that one number called subscribers to just simply line go up, because there's good subscribers, there's bad subscribers, and there's damaging subscribers. And
Yep.
we haven't really talked about the, we did say we talk about the seedy underbelly, but the next version away from, begging for subscribers, sub for sub, going in and spamming, is buying subscribers, which is a whole different level. Have you had, not personal experience, because I know you know better, but have you seen that happen in your YouTube world, where people have
Yes.
got a bit desperate and bought their way into numbers?
Yep, seen it. And you know what? It's very obvious when someone's done it, because you are going to have a mismatch in comments and views and thumbs. It looks very obvious. I've seen people who buy likes before a live stream, and as the live stream started, they've got 250 likes and there's 3 people in the chat. And then 20 minutes into the show, all the likes just go and disappeared down to like 4, because YouTube monitor this stuff. And look, before anything else, before we get into the weeds and talk about, you could get your channel shut down and all this stuff, go for it. If you really want to do it, 100% go for it. But let me remind you this. You've got to look in the mirror each day and know you're full of shit.
Oh, I like that. That reminds me of my wife, who says that whenever someone, little kid's being a dick to one of my children, she's just like, can you go home and just go up to your mum and tell her that she did a crap job raising you? And I'm like, yeah, just think about that. I'm like, yeah, if you do it for yourself, you're like, just go, look in the mirror, look deep into your own soul, and just tell yourself what a disappointment you've been. Yeah, I love it.
Integrity, like these are the other things I think are important. Forget subs.
Yeah.
Do you have integrity?
Yeah.
Do you believe in the things that you're saying? Are you so honest that sometimes it may offend people? Now, I'm not talking about like crazy conspiracy stuff or just stuff that is just scientifically wrong. But even if you are wrong in some of the stuff you say, like maybe about compression, like you're teaching somebody compression, and we're not all perfect, but is the delivery, can you tell that you're trying to be as honest and as earnest as possible? That's more important than anything else. And people will respond, even if sometimes it's delivered like I do with a bit of swearing and stuff. Yeah. And I think it's okay to lose some people who can't deal with that. I've made that decision. We've talked about this before. And, because we probably wouldn't get along in person anyway. I'd probably bop them.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I must admit I've been thinking about this in recent times in terms of, there's sort of 2 ways to go, isn't there? There's, I'm going to be a completely made up version of myself that I think the algorithm is going to like the best. Really hard to do. Lots of competition and hard to kind of maintain. Then there's, I call a spade a friggin' shovel, and I'm going to tell everyone everything like I do all the time, which has its own series of challenges as well. And then most of us live somewhere in that grey area in between, which is that, you've met me, many people on this channel have met me. I'm not exactly the same as I am here. I'm probably about a 2x version online as to what I am in person, but I know that, and I know that at least it is a real me. It is just an enhanced version of me. I don't change personalities, and I definitely don't talk about things that I'm not passionate about, because I think that's, again, the biggest mistake people make in the pursuit of numbers. To bring it back to YouTube numbers, they start going, what does the algorithm want? What can I deliver that's going to get me more subs, more likes, more views, more dopamine hits to my brain, if we're going to get right down to the reason we do this stuff? And that's really not sustainable. That's where people burn out, because they're doing these channels on topics like crypto and AI that they don't really give a crap about, but they think that that's what people want to see as well. You mentioned views, Jade, as being more important than subscribers. So what do you mean in terms of that? What is a view? How do you track your views? How important are views when it comes to YouTube?
Look, when you said we're going to talk about analytics, I'm terrible with analytics. I look at overall stuff. I don't go into the weeds too much, because ultimately I'm more of a live streamer. I don't create a lot of pre-packaged stuff. So, and I know it's a very different thing being a live streamer. So you have to, I think, first break up the 2 types of YouTubers that there are. Oh, well, there's 3 now, because you've got people who make shorts. And that's a whole different kettle of fish, where live streamers, It's instantaneous. It's very parasocial. So you've got people in the chat that you've got to say hello to, and there's that dynamic because people love their name being called out, and you love acknowledging and having that banter with the chat like we can here today. And there's that instant feedback, right? So it's harder to gauge views and replay views with live streams because some people, compared to your tutorials compared to mine, because mine are live streams, I get a lot of people coming in and leaving comments going, I viewed your tutorial and you said hello for the first 10 minutes to a whole bunch of people. And it's like, dude, there's a skip button. Just skip it. Honestly, it's not that hard. Where a pre-recorded video, you put a lot of work into, and you release that baby into the world and hope that it's going to get views. So views are important, definitely, because views generate the algorithm, and how many times this is going to show up into people's feeds, so they're going to get opportunities to see it. And within that algorithm, this, your videos get presented a certain amount of times to people, may get presented, say, to Thomas Christ 4 times, and if he doesn't click on it, it's gone. And you'll never find it again. It disappears into the ether. So views are important because you want people watching your stuff. And if nobody's watching it, you can have all the subscribers in the world, but if none of them are watching your content, you may as well become a TikToker.
just snip that bit. Speaking of TikTok, snip that bit and put it on TikTok right now and tell all the TikTokers exactly that.
Chop.
Yep. And we have seen that. And I think we'll talk about it as we go on, because we do have a bit of time. Still got 40 minutes to chat here about this stuff. But yeah, TikTok, what we've seen in recent times and with shorts as well, there's been this removal of the creator from the creations. And it has become more about the numbers and and the number of followers and views has become even less important than, because what we're seeing on TikTok is no one cares about who's creating them. They just want to scroll the infinite scroll and just see people. Whereas YouTube, I think there is still, at least for now, maybe the future will be different, there's still a bit of a link between people that watch you and people that want to watch you and that will view your content because it's a Jade Starr video, as opposed to it's a video about a thing. And sometimes you have people coming in and, hey, we love that. We love, I always say, we love the usual suspects and we love new members of the community, because you couldn't do it without either, because you'll get natural fall off of people that just move on. And hey, some people do to just move on. They're too mature for Pete John's. I get it. They've moved on to Pro Tools or something else, and they're like, oh man, I couldn't watch Pete Johns anymore. He talks about garage bands. But then there's other people that are coming up. I've just offended a whole bunch of people. Then there's other people that are coming up, like Skeeter Melody, who's right here, who says, yeah, I'm just learning garage band and I'm joining the other end of the train. And I think what's made it good for you and for me is the variety. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you do a lot of tutorial stuff where you have to spend hours the night before learning the thing, and then you come on and you tell people about the thing. You do your music shows, like Your Music Live. That's what I do. Like the opening hour.
I'm never doing a Your Music Live, mate. You know that.
Well, especially not now. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. But you do that, and we've been doing that for 4 years. Did you know today is the first day of the opening hour and the happy hour? It was done exactly 4 years ago. Tomorrow, depending where in the world.
In what was it? Chinese restaurant?
Yeah. I forgot my point. I was getting all excited about things. But yeah, I think that views are important. And in fact, it relates similar to a question that we've got here. So we'll pause before we go on to our next topics to answer this one from Skeeter. When YouTubers have a live session, as we're doing now, like this, is it helpful to have more live comments? Is it helpful the more live comments that we make? Does that help out the YouTube? What do you think, Jade? Quantity versus quality when it comes to a live stream and comments. What do you reckon?
Well, it's interesting. So I started the members thing before you.
Yeah.
And the reason I started the members thing was because, I love my chat, right? And I don't call people chat, hey, chat, like a lot of...
Thank you for doing that, because I would not be able to watch your content if you did.
Yeah, it's a very Twitch thing anyway. So, but it's a very Twitch thing. It's a very modern kind of thing, just for people who have, But I enjoy questions coming in, but what I really enjoy is people having a good time in the chat themselves and being able to have conversations amongst themselves. I think that's really important because sometimes I can be a bit boring and a bit too in the weeds with explaining how something works. And, if it's the 185th thousandth synth for the year, then we all know what a filter is and an ADSR and all that kind of stuff, and I'm explaining the same shit. And the reason I wanted to do members and have emojis and keep it cheap was so people had fun emojis to throw around. And it's almost like when you go to an event and it's a terrible live event that somebody's throwing a beach ball around around the arena, and you're like, wow, this show's really bad. Somebody's throwing a beach ball around. And I give the emojis as here's a beach ball, just in case I'm a boring twat. So I think chat's really important. I think it's a balance because sometimes you can be like doing a live tutorial and people are jumping ahead and asking you questions, which I'm going to get to. Yeah. So chill your beans. I'm getting there. I've spent a lot of time learning this thing, so let me get to it. We got to explain the basics because it's hard. You know this, Pete. You've got to explain to somebody who may not understand what a synthesizer is or the simplest thing. You have to dumb it down without using the word dumb because that's it. Not everybody is at the same level. I love chat, though. I said chat.
I love you, chat. We love you, chat.
We love you, chat.
And it's an interesting one that it's not because the way you could look at this is, and anytime you think, what can I do to make it better for you? You're thinking about it kind of the wrong way. So I know that came from a place of love from Skeeter there, but what that doesn't mean is make sure when you come into a chat that you just every 10 minutes, not like when you're at work and you have to keep your Skype active so your boss thinks you're still working, we have to keep tapping your space bar. You know what I'm talking about, you people at work. It's not like that. It's that when you've got something to contribute, that's something that is going to be, or even just something that you want to say, something that's going to be a bit fun and a bit informative. What I don't want to see, and I don't think anyone really wants, is people just going, I'm here. I'm watching now. I am watching you talk. So you don't need to be constantly talking when there's nothing to add, because then you get the problem of polluting the chat, I guess, and having a whole bunch. You've been on those streams like 1,000+ people, and it's just no one's adding any value or content or asking questions or doing anything. It's just like emoji, 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 emoji. And there's times for that, and I know that sometimes it's cool. Sometimes we'll encourage it and we'll say, hey, throw some Z's in the chat for Michael, aka Z-Lamban, or whatever. But for the vast majority of the time, if you're doing it, and again, if you think that YouTube don't know some of these tactics, there are people that literally get botted accounts and their friends' accounts to just come into their live streams and think if everyone's just chatting and liking and looking like they're having a good old time, that's going to just boost me up somehow. So it's a very long way to answer. We love you and we love your support, and if you're here in the chat, by all means have stuff to say. But by the same token, if you don't have to. There's no obligation, as we say.
Hey, look, we've all done this too. Come into a chat and gone, hey, everybody, I'm just fresh out of work and I'm about to have a steak sandwich. And it's got tomato sauce on it and chips. And that's great. Do that. But we don't need the rest of the show to be based around your tomato sauce and your sandwich. Right? And the other thing too, which is hard, right? Especially like I talked about this. I think I'm going to do a show about this on one of my rants, because I interview a lot of artists. I don't align with everybody's political views and their beliefs and stuff, right? So it's really hard when you have people on, because you've got to let people talk and say who they are, right? And even though you don't agree with that kind of stuff, please, for the love of God, if you are in the chat, and don't turn it into a freaking argument about politics or religion. Like, there's so many places you can go for all that hateful crap. It's just not worth it. But these channels are about fun and encouraging people. So try not to let that. And it is hard sometimes, like I said, with interviews, because people are telling their story, and sometimes their religion or whatever it is a part of who they are and very important to them. But that doesn't mean in the chat you have to sit there and go into an argument about which God is the real God or whatever. Like, just zip it.
Yes, sometimes what is it? Scroll past. It's a song that I've been meaning to write for a long time. Sometimes you can scroll past, and sometimes you can just hit pause, and sometimes you can just think a thing without having to say or type a thing. It's actually okay to do that. So we
Hippie.
are
You
going
see what
to
Hippie wrote there? Sorry, Pete.
yep,
Rules.
rules, man,
Rules,
yeah,
man. Rules. Boom. Right on. Good deal.
boom. Before we talk about the thing that's on the edge of everyone's mind, and that is cold, hard cash, money,
Oh, yeah.
monetization, revenue, dollars, clicks, and all that grimy stuff. I'm going to play an ad. So,
Yeah. I'm so glad you've taken up
I have
this as
stolen
well.
this from Jade, so I'm going to hit this little button over here. Don't worry. If you've got an ad, you got an ad. If you don't, you don't. You're special. Are you special? Yeah, if you're special, if you've got an ad, you're special, and you're supporting the channel. We have to be very careful how we say supporting the channel. When you're using affiliate links or anything to do with money, there's like all these little rules and regulations around things you can and cannot say. So Jade and I will be a little guarded through this bit. We can't reveal all of it. If you want to know exactly how much money we make per video or anything like that, it doesn't work like that. It's kind of like streaming. It's like Spotify. You can't say how much per stream because it depends. But we will give you some basics on this. So, YouTube Partner Program, Jade. You have been a member of this for a couple of years now. You had to work hard to get
Over
there. Do you
3.
want to tell folks the story of how you got there, what you had to do, and all of the behind the scenes stuff for folks that maybe want to start monetizing their stuff on YouTube?
Yeah, sure. Let's go back to briefly to the beginning. Like as I said, I've been on YouTube a long time, and for a lot of the time, it was disconjointed, discombobulated stuff, and then it was more my music. And my heart goes out to so many musicians. I understand how hard it is to get numbers as a musician because it's possibly one of the hardest genres to get people to subscribe and get enough numbers to actually get monetized. And then once you get monetized, you've got to keep that up. So
Yeah.
the inconvenience of 2020 that hit us all gave me the opportunity to kick off How to App, or it's not really called How to App. My channel's still Jade Starr, and I don't want it to be specific. I want it to be a multitude of things. But I was lucky during that period because everyone was at home. So my rise to get monetized, I think when I started How to App, I already had about 326 subscribers from over 15 years of YouTube, which shows how hard it is.
Yeah.
But then so I started in June, and by the end of the year, I'd hit 1,000 and got monetized. And let me tell you, it's not all sunshine and lollipops and no, because for the first few months, you mostly don't get paid. You're earning money, but you've got to earn. There's a cap. Well, I think we can talk about this. There is a cap of what you can make before they will actually pay you out and give you that money. That's $100 within a month. So I remember my first month, it was under $100. And then the next month came along and it was under $100 still. And it took like 3 months before I think the third month, I think I got up to $99.92 and was like, are you kidding me? 8 cents away and you're still not going to pay me again? So it is a hard slog once you're there because, I guess for me too, we've talked about this briefly, my content has some swearing in it and my views can be a little bit full on and I'm opinionated and stuff like that. So you're constantly battling the advertisers who sometimes don't want to be advertising on my show. And that's okay, but a lot of the time they actually do want to advertise. It's just the algorithm's picking up some things that they think I'm saying, but I'm not saying, and then I have to fight it, and then it gets monetized. But since then, it's really hard. Because you want to make the content that you want to make, that you think your people will like, but at the same time in the back of your head, you've got to generate some kind of income. And I didn't start this to generate income. And that's the hard bit too, the transition of like, now it's a business. How do I maintain the fun in the business with the pressure of monetization? It's a lot to take on. And speaking of the ads, like just before I pass back over to you, the reason that I suggested to Pete too to run the ad in the middle of the live stream, uh, because I was getting complaints from people in my live stream saying the ads just randomly appear. And
Yeah.
you may be talking about a thing that I want to hear, and then I just get knocked over to an ad, and then I've missed what you've said. So I've not seen anybody else do this, Pete. It's only us now who are doing this.
I know, we're revolutionary, mate.
I know. YouTube owe me some money for this, but I think it's a good idea to like halt the show, run the ad, and then give to people who get the ad time to come back so they know what's going on. And it sets a marker for you to go back later and set the ad. Because for the longest time, I didn't run a lot of ads because I felt guilty running ads.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to bomb people with ads. I want them to enjoy the show. So there's that.
That
Now
balance,
you're
isn't it?
making money, but you don't want to harm the show and put people out with. It keeps me up
It
at
is.
night.
Yes, and it was one of because I didn't again same deal. I had zero intention. I had a monetized channel on my other channel when YouTube used to allow anyone to monetize, join the partner program, even if you just had 10 subscribers. But then they stopped that to try and stop scamming and spamming and all that sort of thing. So as it is now, and look, it changes at a constant basis, but at the moment, I think it's still the 1,000 subscribers with 4,000 hours of watch time in a rolling 12-month period that you need to be able to achieve before you can join the partner program, and then you need to apply to join it, and then it's usually a week or two, depending on backlogs, to actually get your approval in there. You need to give it a bunch of your details. So if you're very secretive and you don't want to give personal details, well, guess what? You're not going to get paid. So you do have to give over quite a bit of your data. It is reportable income for many people. So that's another thing that people don't really think about when they're coming into this, that if you are making over a tax-free threshold in your country, and I'm not a tax accountant, so I'm not giving you any advice except to say check, like double check it, because all this sort of stuff all links back to you now. And more people like eBay and YouTube and Amazon and all these places are starting to put one and two together and get three. So you do need to be conscious of all of that. And then once you go through all of that, you make, as Jade said, when you start earning money, it's not exactly going to break the bank. You're not going to have your bank calling you up going, "You've got far too much cash now, sir. We need to put it into a savings account and we're going to give you a personal banker." Because and again, we technically can't talk about our CPAs and how much we get per ad or per click or per video, but it ain't much. It's we're talking in the cents and the fractions of a cent per view. We're not talking cents or dollars per view. So for people that think that getting a video with 1,000 views, you must get paid like $20, divide that by about 100 or two, and you'll be more in the ballpark. So
13 cents. Good on you.
it is not huge. Which sort of brings us on to related to that is one metric that everyone got very excited about, and everyone went and checked their own after 2 weeks ago when I was on your show, was click-through rate. So, how important is the old click-through rate, and what does that actually mean for folks in terms of what they should look at and care about?
It's important. Click-through rate. So click-through rate means that somebody's watched your video, and then as soon as they finish, they go and watch something else on your channel. And that's what you want. You want to keep as many people on your channel for as long a period of time as possible. And, a lot of the time you'll get maybe a new subscriber who'll watch something, and then they might watch 3 more straight after. And that is that's a natural occurrence of click-through rate, because somebody actually likes you. Once they're subscribed, it's even harder to get them to click through to older stuff, because but click-through rate is very important. YouTube regard that very highly, and they will throw you into the algorithm even more to more people if you were doing all those things. Now, I'm going to admit something I'm really terrible with. I don't know how I'm going to get around this. I think I have to just forget the past. So I used to put at the end of all my live streams, I have to go back each day and put in the little bits at the end to what other videos, the end screens. And I used to do it for every damn video. And I forgot to do it for a period of time. And I was like, I'll go back and catch up on that. And now it's been over a year and I just have to start it again. I think I stopped because I felt like I left it too long and there's too many videos. So that's something stupid I've stopped doing. And as of today, I'm going to start going back each day and fixing that up because it's probably a whole lot of views I'm missing out for it. But sometimes the thing is that you just don't have enough time to remember all of these things, go back and do. There's so many things you have to manage on a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And it just like, it gets
It
overwhelming.
can. And it can become like diminishing returns as well too when you're doing a lot of this sort of stuff, because you could do everything, but you got to kind of work. It's almost the 80-20. And I was going to mention the 80-20 rule before, because when you were talking about, the things that you do versus the things that you like to do, I think that you always need to have at least 20% of that. So even if it's a business, which it is for me, you still have to have 20% of stuff that you just do for fun. You just throw stuff out there. You were talking with Leanie in your interview today that people should go back and check out, that if you just need to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks and put it out there and have a bit of fun. If you're not having fun, you might as well be working a day job, because you'll sure as heck get a much more stable income if you just work for a business and work in the real world as opposed to this sort of stuff.
Take a calculated risk or two every now and again too. Like you can take risks. Like I talk about risks a lot on my channel. The danger of music has changed so much. Artists aren't dangerous anymore. They don't walk the line. They don't try crazy things. You can do that, but make calculated risks where it's not too far from what you actually do, but it still is relevant to, so you can branch off. And I know I want to ask you on this. I know I'm veering off. What is your thought on having a channel for this and a channel for that? Because I started to do it and I see a lot of people saying it's the right thing to do. But I think if you're creating content that's still very similar to what your main output is, and it still has, like Walk With Me. I do the Walk With Me's, I'm walking around filming stuff, but I'm still playing music from people in the community or music that I've made with an app that I've reviewed. So it feels like if I did that on a separate channel, I'm just trying to send people off to other places and nobody wants to be like, hello, welcome to the show. Now go over here.
Yeah.
Like,
I come and go on this stuff because I've dabbled in it. I've created another channel which I very rarely post to, and originally I was going to do a Pete John's music channel separate to Studio Live Today, so I could have one musician channel and one tutorial channel, and then I just either got lazy or just decided that, like you, I figure it's called a channel for a reason. It's not a show. Like a channel is not a show. A show is a show. A channel can have many shows. So Pete John's Studio Live Today. Peter, I'm in trouble.
You said it.
Peter Jones. That's the first time I've called myself Peter in like decades. But when you come to my channel, it's Pete John's Studio Live Today. And part of that is GarageBand. I do a weekly GarageBand show, lots of GarageBand tutorials. Part of that is mobile creating. I do lots of mobile creating and tutorials on that. Part of that is the happy hour. I sit down for an hour every week and play acoustic tunes. Part of that's Your Music Live. And all of those are their own separate entity. Now, could I have GarageBand tutorials as one channel? Could I have Your Music Live as its own separate channel? Yeah, I could. I've seen people do that and I've seen it not work that well. And this is sort of one of the things that I think you've done and that I've done and that everyone does. You can overdo this, but in terms of the whole numbers thing and the learning thing, I think as much, and you've mentioned it, that you don't look at the analytics much, and I don't. I did when I started out, and I think you get a little bit paranoid and you're looking at numbers all the time. And then as I've progressed, I take a glance at it from time to time and then just move on, because I kind of know what I'm trying to do. And more of my research is less about, going in and micro analyzing every number and just seeing what's happening out there. What are the trends? What are other people doing on YouTube? What's working for other people? What's not working for other people? It's not about going and copying things. It's about being inspired. It's like what I say about music. There's 12 notes in the Western scale. So you're not going to be copying. You're going to be copying people anyway. And there's only a certain amount of things you can do in a video. So, wow, like I did a walking thing for a month and then you went, hey, that's a good idea. I'll do some walking things as well. And like, that's just being inspired by what other people are doing. You started putting ads in the middle of your live stream and I'm like, hey, that's a good idea, because I've never put the automated ads on because I couldn't put people through that. I think that that's a bad experience, despite the fact that, and we'll cover this in a sec, YouTube want you to put a lot more ads than we put on. If you think that you get lots of ads, if you leave it on automatic, you should see how many ads YouTube would love you to put.
It's not even automatic, Pete. Like you're doing manual ads when you go like this really bugs me. YouTube, are you watching? Because I'm so bitter over this.
You watching your own channel?
Are you watching? I'm trying to think of his name from iMore. Oh my God. Renee Ritchie. Are you watching this? No. But so this is such a stupid thing. You do the manual ad in the live stream, knowing full well that you've chosen, even though they keep popping up the thing, you've chosen a manual ad. Remember, we can put our own ads in. And you're like, no, I'm an adult. I can do it. Take the training wheels off. And then you do that. And then once the video processes, which can take up to 12 hours sometimes, you go back and you go and place the ad for the replay. And when I go back and have a look, even though I've not selected, there's 23 ads. And I have to delete, and then add the one in that I've put. Like 23 is ludicrous.
Yeah, it's basically when I do the happy hour, as people know, I do about 12 songs, and it tries to look for natural pauses. And when do I naturally pause doing the happy hour? Between songs. So when I stop and I change my thing, I'm like, okay, that was Radiohead Creep. It just puts an ad in every single time. So I have to go in there and remove the 12 ads and put one back in order for it to be watchable. And I've gotten into trouble before. I remember the early days of GarageBand Weekly, because I didn't do many live shows back in the day. I did mostly pre-recorded. So I was learning the whole live side of things. And I put out a live show, and someone from the GarageBand community said to me, did you know that there were 14 ads in your 50-minute show? And I'm like, wild, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. And I went back in and removed them all. So,
like, dear YouTube, we know the advertisers are getting a bit stingy, but 23 ads, come on, guys, relax. It's overkill.
Yeah, and look, and that is part of it. Look, it's we're not going to say don't. Like, ads are important, and you know, if you're sitting there right now using an ad blocker, you know what, you do you, boo. Again, you got to do that looking in the mirror thing that Jade said before. But so we do need ads, but I think that the reason that people do use things like ad blockers is because ads are just so in your face and so many of them. Whereas if you're watching a 1 hour show like this and you get a pre-roll ad, an ad at the 30-minute mark, and an ad at the end, that's less than broadcast TV. That's less than you're going to get anywhere. That's less advertising than walking down the street and seeing a billboard on the side of the road. So I think that that's reasonable. So if you want to support your favorite creators, do engage with them. Or the other thing is, while we're talking revenue and stuff, the other things you can do, things like Patreon that you and I both have, like the memberships that you started, and there you go. I copied you and Thomas because you did memberships, and I was like, I think I need to do memberships, and that's been very successful. So there are things that you can do. You talked before about the types of videos and the differences between shorts and longs and lives and mediums and all the sorts of things. For folks out there, do you think that you should have your focal point, or do you think mixing and matching in terms of your length of your videos and your type of videos is the way to go?
God, I'm the worst person to ask this because I'm still all over the shop. Sometimes there's some, I've done some pre-recorded tutorials that I try to keep between 15 to 19 minutes, and I'm good most of the time with those. It's hard because a tutorial is quite a complex thing. It depends on how deep the app is.
Yep.
Live tutorials are very hard because some apps are just very complicated, and I need a bit over an hour to go. Some are very short. Now I feel like I'm spacing it out to try and fit in the hour, and you know what? You just got to bring that down. I think having a combination of stuff is a good idea because YouTube lovingly now separates shorts from live streams to, you know, your pre-recorded content. So they have tried to make it easier for the viewer to discern which is which. If you don't want to watch shorts, then you don't have to. You can just go to the video tab and get all that stuff. What I don't like, can I just say about shorts, is if you watch one, then they just keep coming. It's like, I only wanted to watch that one. I have a longer attention span. Look, I'm not a fan of shorts. I understand how they can work, but they are a lot of work for very little back. I mean, even getting 1 million views on a short is nothing. It just means nothing.
It's we So shorts really are, and you and I have talked about this. They're like a promotion tool, really. They're to promote awareness. They're like if you've ever worked in marketing or sales or advertising, they're the brand advertising as opposed to the direct marketing. So they're not really driving people to watch an ad because they don't run very many
Yep.
ads on shorts, and they're not really going to drive a lot of revenue. So this is where people get into trouble. They have these big channels. Like you look at these big channels that have like 1 million subscribers, and they're getting 100,000 views per short. Well, the problem is that we without going into specifics of number, it's somewhere between 10 and 20 times less revenue that you get paid for shorts than you get paid for a regular video or a live stream video. So yeah, you have to do very, very well to start earning significant amounts from your shorts. But if you're having fun with them and you're putting them out there, they're not taking you much time, and yeah, just go with
Yeah,
it.
that's the thing, isn't it? Trying to so they don't take over your life. Like these are the things you got to remember when you're doing content and you're trying new things. You can't get trapped, because I did for a little bit, where every day I'd do my live stream, wait for it to get processed and go live, go in, put my ad in, do all that kind of stuff, and then take a portion of it and make a short, put that up, and the short would be a portion from that show which said, hey, there's a full tutorial over here, and try and do it that way. But I found that was like adding an hour and a half's work each night, and it was grinding me into the ground. And then you look at the numbers for it, and it's like, it's not worth it. So shorts are, I don't think they're going to last the distance on YouTube. I just honestly think that with all the stuff that's going on with TikTok and Congress and stuff in the US, maybe if TikTok gets banned, maybe there's an opportunity for YouTube, and everyone's going to go YouTube Shorts. But I think Instagram will win out there.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's again all social media. We've got 9 minutes, so we're not going to talk much about social media. But yeah, there's lots of different things that are going on. And I did an experiment this week where I made a short video about something completely just unrelated. It was about how to use self checkout in an Apple store, because I happened to be buying something and I'm like, oh, this might be something interesting to share. And it was really interesting because on TikTok I put it out and straight away it started getting lots of views, and it's got like 8,000 views in the last 2 days. I put it onto YouTube, it got no views until this particular certain time where YouTube jumped in and it clearly went up onto the shorts shelf, which is that little annoying banner that goes under your thing. And then a bunch of people clicked it, and I got lots of teenagers abusing me for pointing out something simple. They're like, anyone knows how to scan a barcode, boomer.
And did it die?
Yeah, and then just falls off again straight away. So it was like bonk, bonk. And that's very different to a regular video that normally has, yes, a spike at the top, but then you'll normally get a gradual gradient. And then, especially if it's a tutorial, you'll get like a more consistent view over time, whereas shorts are very much in the now, newsworthy stuff that people are going to watch now. Very rarely do you find shorts that have long staying power for the future. So
I can't remember a short, Pete, where I've gone like, God, remember that short? Oh, what a short it was. Back in 2022, I watched that short and it just pops really back into my mind. Yeah, it's fun. I go back to it every week just to watch that 30 seconds of nonsense. but compared to long form, there's videos I go back to that I watched 10 years ago that are stuck in my mind that maybe went for an hour and a half. So, shorts are exactly what they are, the short attention spans.
Yes, exactly. And exactly. And as people like Joe and Barry Glenn, I saw that and moved on. Exactly. And I guess that's the bottom line here is that, and the reason that, again, I say it's a channel and that some people will say, I don't like watching your blah show. I'm like, again, it's the same thing. If you're watching Channel 7, you might love Deal or No Deal, but hate The Chaser. And that's absolutely fine. Just to bring
is that
it back
still on?
Oh, it's come back. Of
course
here in
has.
Australia, it's returned, and it's the most boring show ever because it's like, which of these 20 things has money in it and which doesn't? It's like, God damn it, we've really, as a society.
I never watched it for that, Pete. I watched it for the pretty girls holding suitcases.
It's rough. All right, we've got 6 minutes to go here, folks. If you do have any questions and you're here live, feel free to throw them in. Give us some stuff to talk about right here at the last moment. There was? Did I miss one?
Yes. It was from...
we had the Skeeter one. We answered that one.
It was
Did I miss a question?
Doug Kidder,
There
can
it
you
is.
talk a little bit about impressions?
Oh yeah, so impression. So we kind of started this because we talked about the chains, like as Jade said, you want people at the end of your video, and actually I did a poll just about that, about the end screen stuff. At the end of video, you want people to click through to the next one. The other side of that is that impression is anytime you put, so whether someone's watching your video or someone else's video even, or just their home feed or their sub feed or whatever, an impression is just, it appears. So if you're scrolling through, if you're doing your doom scrolling of YouTube on your phone and you're scrolling down and you see a Jade Starr video and you just keep scrolling, that's an impression without a click. So as you go through and you're just going, you doot, 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 I'm giving all these channels impressions right now and not tapping on them, which is pretty sad for them. So I'll stop doing that now. But yeah, an impression just means how many opportunities there's been for people to click or tap on your video. And then you want, obviously, your ratio of your clicks to your impressions, your ratio to be as high as possible. So in your YouTube analytics, there's that little pyramid. If you find the pyramid, it shows a big chunk of impressions, and then it shows the non-clicked impressions, and then it shows the clicked impressions. And you want your peak of your pyramid to be as big as possible, because what you're hoping is through your thumbnail. And look, we haven't had time to talk about thumbnails.
We talked about
and titles
thumbnails on the last thing we did. So if you
We
want to go
did,
back,
yeah.
come
Yeah,
to my
exactly,
channel and watch it.
Go to Jade's channel and check out. But we talked thumbnails, we talked titles, descriptions, tags, all that stuff. You just want to create something that's going to grab people and the right people as well. And that's why we say friends don't let friends sub for sub, because if you're subscribed to a channel and you're going to see that person, every time you see that creator come up, you're like, their stuff's boring, I never watch it, and you skip past, that's going to really destroy their click ratio of their impressions.
Can I say something about those thumbnails? You notice after that show, I did start changing some of my thumbnails. Not for all the shows. I tried to make a different, so for apps, they have a very specific old school branding, which was the branding that I had. But for things like interviews and for rants and for special shows, I've tried to do the bigger ones with bigger photos and less clutter. I haven't noticed a difference.
And that's what I wanted to kind of close on here, which is that I sort of put in the title here, like all the numbers that matter and the ones that really don't as well when I've been promoting this show, because you can obsess about this stuff. You can go right into the weeds and into the detail. You can spend way too much of your own time looking at the numbers, but really at the end of the day, you just need to, it's about engagement. And at the risk of being my new favorite word, woo-woo about it, I used to say wanky, and I'm like, YouTube algorithm doesn't like wanky.
Still like wanky.
At the risk of being wanky about it, it's more about engagement. It's more about the feel. You will be able to tell how people are engaging with your videos and how well you're doing by how you feel about it and how you're interacting with other people in your channel. So, yeah, I think you can go easy on that. We did do a quick poll there, and 51% of people watching this right now, of about 40, 50 people, said no, they don't click the end screen videos when they're watching a video, and only 47% said yes. So even when you forget to put your end screen on, only half the people might click one of your videos anyway. So it's not like everyone's just clicking through those end screen videos every time. So I think if we leave them off sometimes, it's all good in the hood. We had a follow-up question real quick. How can we help the algorithm target the impressions? Yeah, that's all the things we said before. Thumbnails, video, like thumbnails, titles, woo-woo.
Get a chicken, cut its head off and do some mantras and hope for the best, because, this is the thing. We don't really know how the algorithm works, do we? And you can, I tell you, a really good place to get your information is follow the YouTube creator channel that they have, where they deliver information about changes coming up. And they do give tips on how they don't tell you exactly how the algorithm works, but they give you kind of sort of maybe a little bit of a nudge in that direction. And Renee Ritchie, who's now working for YouTube as well, a lot of really good stuff there. Over listening to too many influencer people, because just remember this. There's a lot of people out there create content on how to have a great YouTube channel, and they watch somebody else who has a channel on how to have a great YouTube channel, who watches somebody else on how to have a great YouTube channel. And really, it's just a bunch of Chinese whispers in the end, because ultimately the only people who know how it all works is YouTube. And if they gave it all away, the algorithm would shit itself.
Yes, and it's why, with YouTube in particular, don't just look at stuff from 2 years ago and just keep doing the same thing, because it's very different now than it was 2 weeks ago, let alone 2 years ago. So keep that in mind. When YouTubers sell merchandise, does YouTube get a percentage of that? No, not if it's through the shelf down below, but
Yes.
Teespring do, or whoever we use to sell our merchandise get usually a pretty chunky cut of that. But it's one thing they haven't put their put their percentage on just yet. But give it time. Give it time.
My advice of being a YouTuber, can I just say, is integrity. Follow the things. Create stuff that you really genuinely love, even if it's ultimately super niche, because there are people out there right now typing into YouTube search engine going, this really, really niche thing that nobody understands me about. And people will find you, and you will find a community. And the most important thing is to nurture that community and go with your heart, go with the honesty, and go with integrity, and that is your strength. And being raw to your people who watch you, and being as honest as you possibly can without giving everything away, because we need a little pocket of life that we can go back and hug at night and cry ourselves to sleep with, right? But I think that's the most important thing, to be as heartfelt and honest, and without coming across slimy and shitty, and that you're a car salesman. Yeah.
Yep.
That's where people respond, and you don't need to amp it up to 150.
No.
You can 110's enough.
Yep. 110%, 2x, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
That is outstanding advice. No one can be a better you than you. You have the absolute cornered the market on being yourself, because no one can do it like you can do it. Jay, where can folks go to check out your stuff, and what will they find when they go there?
You can come to my YouTube channel, which is just Jade Starr. I have a website called howtoaponios.com or jadestarr.com.au to find my music. So, music or tutorials or walk with me. I try and cover everything on my channel, from mental health to getting fit, because all these things are important around music. Making music is not just the scales and what app you should buy. And I have a wicked community of people. You can also meet me on Patreon if you want your songs mastered. Join me on Patreon, and I can master your songs. Each weekend we do a live stream. People send in their songs and get critical feedback in a loving community. So there's all of that too.
Lovely stuff.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you. Yes, for those on the video version, Thomas has just thrown a link there, or you can just search Jade Starr, and you'll find everything. That's Starr with 2 R's. If you listen to this podcast on the audio version, do go ahead and leave a review, leave a rating on your podcatcher place of choice. You can go to studiolivetoday.com/podcast to subscribe to the audio version, or of course, you can watch it on YouTube. Very good, big thank you to the folks who have been here live, and a big thank you to Jade Starr for joining us on this week's show. As we say at the end of each and every one of these, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, keep creating, and we'll see you next time right here on the Studio Live Today podcast. Bye for now.